Hello and welcome back to the table. We're going to continue on. This will be turn number 4 of the basic game playthrough for Tokyo Express. Trying to stop the camera from wiggling. That ain't working. Alright, well, it'll stop wiggling on its own. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do this time when we play is I'm going to gloss over some of the admin phases. For example, I'll let you know that I'm plotting or planning the movement and things like that. But I'll pause the camera for that. Or like when I'm assigning gunnery, torpedoes, things like that, I'll pause, put the markers, come back, and we'll play out the gunnery. That will speed up the video a little bit. I know some people like to see all the steps, but I figured since I've kind of covered that process in a couple other videos, this will just let the video be more focused on moving the pieces and rolling dice, I hope. Hopefully that works out for you. I know some people probably like to see all of it, so you get a fair chunk. But for instance, starting action shit, I already put the action shits back in the bag. Did that off camera. Then we're going to do the US formation phase and movement orders phase. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead, pause the camera, take a look at my formation, which probably isn't changing. The speed was assigned, and honestly, I think I've already decided an order for them. They're going to do a 60-degree starboard. I'm going to try and chase down the light cruisers. So here is 60 degree. Okay, they're done. Japanese will come back. I will say this though, someone pointed out I probably, here, let me shift this a little bit. We're missing one of the Japanese formations for you. Alright, well, just a brief, I'm going after the light cruisers because one, and the destroy the light formation, they don't hurt as badly as the heavy cruisers. So I'm hoping I can eliminate the light cruisers and then maybe in the last turn take out one heavy cruiser, maybe like that, just for victory points. I've already taken out one destroyer completely, and I've got a really crippled heavy cruiser with the Admiral on it. So I'm hoping maybe I can secure enough victory points through sinking of the Japanese tonnage that I can come away with a victory even if I lose a heavy cruiser. So that's my goal. I'm going to do a 60-degree port starboard. Someone pointed out though that I was probably getting my starboards and ports backwards when I was turning. They said, are the counters printed wrong with port and starboard? No, the counters look fine. It's probably just a fault of Eddie. Playing the game kind of upside down backwards because all the counters are upside down in relation to their traveling, that I'm probably just getting things backwards. So there's no problem with the counters or the games. It's all a problem with Eddie. Like for a while I pointed out that I caught myself driving ships backwards. Yeah, so it happens. Like I just noticed the Japanese turn to come back, and see now I don't remember if I turned them properly, but I think they did turn so they could come back, but that was at the end of the turn. So anyway, I'm just going to do my best to make sure I'm turning things left and right properly and track that. So I'll come back after we plot the Japanese and I'll tell you what the Japanese orders will be. Alright, let's summarize the orders. The heavy Japanese formation, their positioning was turned 180 degrees around. The rules say when that happens, they lose 1 off of their speed. So they're going to travel speed 4, and they had an ahead order. So they're just going to go back where they came from and at speed 4 now. That will go back up in the next order movement segment for them, I'm sure. Then the Americans, I forgot they were speed 3, so they've been crippled pretty badly. But I went ahead and gave them a 60-degree starboard turn because I want to try and broadside the Japanese. The Japanese were given, they were rotated 120 degrees, so they're now going northeast. So I am trailing them now, and then they were given an about face port. So they're going to spend 3 of their, well, they might not be able to make a complete 180, but they're going to spend this order segment trying to turn back around to face us. So we've got that going for us. I might be able to catch them broadside, or they'll catch us broadside, but at some point we're going to be broadside. Okay, so orders have been issued. Then I'm putting this stuff out of the way, putting my combat sheets back here. So we did the U.S. movement. Yeah, I skipped over the U.S. freedom of action phase because, again, there's only one formation. Now we go right into activity phase. First movement phase, U.S. move segment. I can turn them before or after I move, but I'm going to go ahead and turn them now. So again, I just got to make sure starboard is for sure. I am still playing basic game where the island does not exist on the map. All land is blue, but my mind was kind of like, I don't know, it's really hard for me to unsee the island like right there. I'm sure there's rules for shallow water because there's light blue, and then, you know, I guess that island drops off right here deep into the ocean here, but it's got some shallow parts. So I'm assuming you would have a chance maybe of running aground in the shallow. So in my mind, even though I'm not using the rule, I was kind of pretending that we don't want to drive into that island that technically doesn't exist. So I'm doing my 60-degree starboard turn, and we move up one. Everybody done. Order execute. Oh, hold on. Let's see, I forgot to check. First move segment, okay, even at speed 3 on the first move segment, everybody moves 1. So yeah, we're speed 3, so they execute the order and they move. Alright, then it's the Japanese move segment, everybody moves. Yeah, the Hurutaka is just moving straight ahead, so they move. And then the Japanese player, they move 1 forward, and because they're doing an about, I don't roll to see if they turn. I only roll if it's on a 60-degree, but since they are doing an about, that means they're trying to eventually face southwest. So they're going to execute 1 turn. Trying to do that without tweezers, but again, the counters make that where tweezers are probably better. Okay, so that was the first Japanese segment. Then we're going to draw the action shit and see if we have combat. I'm going to keep that order with them until it's executed completely. Alright, here we go. First chit. Nothing, no combat. Okay. Then I look at the second U.S. movement segment, come down to speed 3. They do indeed move, so they're going to move 1 more. And keep that speed with them. Then the Japanese, both of them will move. So Hurutaka's group will move. And the Japanese will move and turn 1 more, and then they turn, well, move, turn. So right now, combat would not be a bad thing to do right now. I think that puts me at the advantage because I am out of the broadside of the cruisers, but they're in my broadside. So if we were going to combat, now would be the time. I drew the combat. Perfect. That was not planned. Alright, so what I'll do is, well, first the Japanese go first. So I'm going to come back, plot. I'm out of torpedoes. Well, let me see. One person had torpedoes, and I'm going to see if that was center line or if I fired all the torpedoes. Just real quick like. Because if there's no more torpedoes, I might just skip torpedo phase. I think everybody that had torpedoes that could use torpedoes, there's done. There was no reloads. Alright, so I'm going to skip the torpedo phase, and just checking the American destroyer, they go later. Yeah, the one American destroyer I have has torpedoes on the starboard side, but can't shoot through their own people, so they don't have a clear line of sight. They won't fire torpedoes. So I have no torpedo action, so we'll just set up the gunnery targets come back, roll dice for gunnery for the Japanese, and then come back and do the same for the Americans. So I'll see you in a moment. All right, gunnery has been assigned. Just a quick recap. What I did was, this was interesting to me. Both of these formations to this formation here, this was all equal distance to both. So I just did random dice rolls to see who would shoot who. Then here, the destroyer is the closest target to both of these ships. So both ships have been assigned to the destroyer. Now, had there been something else equal distance, or if I had more ships in the formation, I would then be able maybe to spread out the fire a little bit. But that destroyer is the closest thing they see. Luckily, this is like 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Detection range is 10 for the Japanese. So this is all within night vision detection. All right, so again, it's all simultaneous, so I'll make little notes if damage is taken. But let's roll for the Japanese here. I know you can't. I'm going to shift this over. Well, I was trying to make everything fit, but actually, for gunnery, all the gunnery is on these cards. So let me bring that down a little bit. Maybe you can see what we're doing. I got the ranges though for gunnery combat. Medium is 4 to 7. So I'll start with the heavy cruisers. That's going to be medium. So we'll draw a heavy. Oh, reshuffle. Alright, so we're going to reshuffle. I'll come back after a reshuffle. Alright, now that we reshuffle, we're going to go ahead and flip. Nothing. Alright. I guess I could have started with attack A, but I just went ahead and did this. So we'll take attack D off. I guess since it's simultaneous, it doesn't matter, but if I went to the trouble of marking A and whatnot. Alright, so we'll try E. So the Kinugasa is going to go ahead and attack. Light destroyer target at medium range. What? I swear. I shuffled these as best I could, but in a way, I'm a little disappointed. Well, actually, I'm happy because the Americans will shoot, and now that those are out of the way, I'm probably guaranteed some damage finally. All right, so now we'll hop up here to the A, and that is my destroyer. So that's a light target. He was shooting at 1, 2, 3, 4. That is medium range. So it's all medium, everybody's medium range. And they're shooting at a heavy cruiser. So light at a heavy cruiser, medium. He draws all zeros as well. Okay. Oh no, his gunnery factor. Alright, that's something I need to check real quick. They're out of the broadside. It would just be his 10. And 10 is not enough gunnery factors to do anything. So he would need a lot of gunnery factors. I am going to go back though and check because it says they can get up to 60. I don't know if they combine fire. Let me pause and read that. I may be forgetting that. Alright, I just looked and it says that each ship resolves gunnery individually. And then if you say split the fire, like if I had targets that were, well, like here, for instance, I probably, after looking at this, I have this hex was in the front arc of this. So I would use 10 gun factors there. Technically, the rear arc is 10 away. No, 1, 2, 3, but it's 10 firepower. I could fire it from the rear. So I could fire 10 on here as well, I think. Oh, he's already shooting at this one with the rear. Okay. I randomly rolled, but oh no, so this is good. This unit here is in the broadside. I'm looking because some of these might have to split, but I think I'm okay. Yeah, this one actually I think I did good. Even though I randomly rolled, this one worked good because he's in the broadside. So he'll get the full 20 points. But 20 points against a heavy cruiser from a destroyer does nothing. So he's fine anyway. But, so we'll take the A off. So he fires, so he's good. So that's the other thing I got to keep in mind too, next time I plan out gunnery, is make sure I've accounted for both the forward and rear, the stern guns, just in case I could fire the stern guns at something and the bow guns at something else. Luckily that fell in line with the broadside. It just wasn't enough to do anything. Alright, well then let's take a look at B. Now B is a light cruiser, but it fires light guns. Yeah, that's why I don't have a CL deck, I just have the light deck, because their guns fire as light. They're light cruisers, but their guns are light. Alright, and they're firing at the heavy cruiser. Now, this one is in that hex. Well, let's see. Yeah, I'm looking at the broadside hex. That misses. So here, boop, boop, boop. Yeah, they're in the front. There's nothing in the rear, because the rear arc comes back. Yeah, there's no targets in the rear. So this actually, I randomly rolled, but trying to make sure I didn't forget or mess up on the gunnery. We're good. So this is 10 light gun. I was just curious if they added together, because this goes up to 60. So that would mean a ship that would have like 30 in the front, 30 in the back as far as gunnery. And they could have that. I mean, this one by itself here, the Yubari has got 30 gun factors on it. So there might be a light cruiser out there that goes up to 60. It must be. It's on the chart. Okay, so we're going to fire 20 points from the Tenru. Nope, sorry, just 10, because only the front guns hit. Alright, here we go. 10 points against a heavy cruiser at medium range. And again, that's nothing. So light guns didn't do anything. Then we have the Yubari. Oh, I guess I read those backwards. So that was Tenru. Yeah, so the Yubari is going to fire 15 gun factors into the Northampton, which is a heavy cruiser. So again, light guns, heavy cruiser at medium range, nothing. So got a lot of guns firing and giving away their position, but no damage. So now we're going to reverse the process and see if this works out to the American advantage by just focusing on the light cruiser. So I'll be back after assigning gunnery. Okay, and one thing I did forget, I forgot to apply the damage effects, because I do have damaged ships on both sides, which would affect the speed of this formation up here, because the Yubari is actually down to speed 2. So this formation should be moving speed 2, not speed 4, for instance. Plus that would do downshifts on the gunnery chart, but since they did no damage, that washes out, right? But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I apply damage results that the Americans are under to the gunnery. So that might cause some misses here. So as they're taking damage, it's more difficult for them to wage war. And then I'll have to go back, and I think I got the speed applied properly for this formation. I just totally didn't apply the proper speed. So I'm going to catch that when we hit the next order phase and swap that out with a counter 2. Alright, so I got a gunnery set up now. As the American player, you can set your gunnery however you want. You don't have to worry about closest to closest or anything like that. So I also check to make sure that all targets are in full broadside. So this worked out exactly how the American player wanted. I got to catch the light formation, the light task force in my broadsides, and I'm hoping that will let me sink a couple ships. So we're going to start with the Chicago. It's going to have 12 gunnery factors at medium range against the Tenru, which is a CL. So I'm going to flip the heavy deck. So again, it's 12 gun factors against a light cruiser at medium range. It does 3 damage. So I do 3 damage to, well, Yubari. I look at my damage chart, and that means the Yubari is going to sink. So we got the Yubari. So I'm going to take the targets off and attack off, and you're now sinking. Then these are stacked together because I know someone might say, wait, you can't shoot through someone. I just laid them out. It was easier to put. That's why I was saying I wish that these were bigger hexes, but then you would need a much bigger map. But then I could put ships kind of side by side like this to do things. So B is going to attack the Tenru, and it's a broadside as well, so it's got 12 gun factors as well. So I'm going to flip that against a light cruiser. 12 gun factors, medium range. It does 3 damage to the Tenru. Tenru is on here. Now, Tenru has not suffered any damage up to this point. However, it only has 3 boxes. So now all boxes are gone. So Tenru is also sinking. I'm going to have to grab a sink counter here in a second. So don't let me forget. In fact, what I'm going to do, since both of those were in a stack together and they're both now sinking, I'm just going to put their stack back together. And then we'll know at the end of the turn they sink. So no more combat for them, but they still get to maneuver because their skeleton crew is trying to keep the ship afloat and part of the formation, while the rest of the crew is probably firefighting and doing what they can to reduce flooding so that their buddies can get off or try and save the ship. However, yep, not happening, but they will stay on the table for a while. Okay, that worked. Then the Americans are going to fire 16 gunnery factors at medium range into that destroyer. Here we go. 16, which is on the 15 at medium range. That's only 2, so we got some overpins or something there. Good firepower against other cruisers, light cruisers, but loses a little bit against the destroyers. So what did I say? That's 2. Alright, that's the Teruzaki, or Teruzuki. Teruzuki takes 2, which actually knocks out its remaining 2 hull, so it is sinking as well. That's amazing. The American gunnery this time actually paid off, did in spades. And I forgot to adjust for damage. Gosh darn it. I knew I'd forget something. And that may have made a difference. Let's see. The Salt Lake City. Let me see if Salt Lake City had taken any damage. Salt Lake City had taken damage. It would be a shift of 3. So it had, what did I say, 16 against a destroyer, 2 shifts down. That destroyer would only take, well, actually 3 shifts down because it's got 3 damage. So it actually only did 1 point of damage against the Teruzuki. So let me come back to that. I don't remember where Teruzuki was. I just saw that it had some damage on there. Okay, so just to be nice to the Japanese player, I'm going to give a whole point of damage back because I forget where it was. Crud. I knew I would make a mistake and I'm catching it, and I don't know if I can go back because I just crossed off damage. I was like, yes. Well, the Yubari only had 1 point of damage. So if I go back, I think the Yubari was the first one I shot. That was gunnery 12 at a light cruiser, medium range, and what was shooting it? The Northampton? I think the Northampton shot at it. 2. It did 1 point of damage, so that was enough to sink the Yubari anyway. Or actually, Tenru I think had 0. Well, I tell you what, I messed it up. I'm not able to go back in my mind and fix it. One of those, the Tenru or the Yubari, without rewinding the videotape and watching it often, I'm just going to have to accept the fact that I messed up. Well, I forgot to apply damage effects. I even said I was going to remember to apply damage effects, and I completely forgot. Well, that's why we end up playing these games more than once, so we can do our best to try and remember all those little oopses. Crap. So there's a possibility that one of those light cruisers is probably still alive. So that gunnery was fantastic if they had taken no damage up to that point, but they had taken damage. So we'll go ahead and sink them. I'll go ahead and keep that destroyer alive one more turn, just because I feel bad. However, it is hurt pretty significantly. Its speed is going to be reduced to 2, but yeah, there's not a whole lot they can do. All right, so let's fire back. So this destroyer, the Drayton. Now, let me check. Does the Drayton have damage on it? Drayton destroyer, where are you? The Drayton has no damage, so its gunnery will not be affected. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes away, so it's medium. So we're going to draw a light. And it is against a heavy cruiser. It does no damage. So it was 12 gunnery factors because that is its stern guns. Okay, so the one that I made sure not to cheat on, I know I used the word cheating. Someone said it's not cheating if you make a mistake or if you go back and correct stuff, but I kind of feel like I cheated a little bit there. But there it is. That's all the gunnery. That's all we had. No more torpedoes. All gunnery is done. So we still got full heavy cruisers, wounded, super accurate firing heavy cruisers for the Americans, and 2 sunk light cruisers. Alright, but they can't fire anymore or participate in combat or do anything. They're just steering for the sake of steering until they actually slip under the waters. Then we would go to the third movement phase. So American movement phase, they executed their order, so they were speed 3, and this is the third segment. They don't move. Okay, Japanese movement, we'll do the heavy cruisers first. On third move segment on speed 4, they don't move, and neither will they. So they're all... Oh, that means they don't get to finish their fancy about port. They didn't have enough forward speed to make that happen. Okay, well, they tried their best, so we'll take that order off because they can't execute it. All right, now it goes to the second Japanese orders phase. I'm going to go back and see if I can try to catch up with some of my mistakes. Like I'm going to have to put this group at speed 2 because, yeah, it would have to be speed 2 because, well, the destroyer is now at speed 2 anyway. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Oh, I was going to turn the camera off, not the light. All right, welcome back. Let me see if I can maybe lift that up a little bit, capture everybody. Okay, now in an effort to make sure I catch all my little mistakes, I went ahead and put this formation back at speed 2 because that's what they should have been to start with. Now, they were then rotated back to the north facing direction with an about port order. So on their next turn, they're going to turn, but then they won't be able to move the rest of the segment. So they're going to make one more turn. Then the Japanese down here, they were flipped about again. So they made another 180-degree turn, which reduces their speed automatically by 1. So they're now speed 3, and we'll see how many more movement segments they get coming up. So they might be done. I think they get one more move segment, and then they're done. So the Americans, they just continue moving ahead at that current speed. We won't make any speed adjustments until the actual end of the turn, at which point we'll lose some ships, they'll sink and whatnot. So this last bit of the turn might go quick. So then we go to segment 4. This is the fourth movement phase. So US, I'm looking at my fourth. They were speed 3. So that is one more forward for them. So that formation moves. Boom. Okay, Japanese, 3. Since this dropped to 3, fourth move phase, they move 1. Oh, I forgot. They did a flip, and now they're moving ahead. So they're done. And then They're speed 2, speed 2. I might have moved them forward again earlier because I had them on the wrong speed. But on speed 2, this particular phase, they do get their one move. And they're going to make their one turn to try and accomplish the about order phase. And then, I mean, I would leave it, but they're not going to move forward again. Okay, so that would be the end of that phase. Now, normally you would then draw chit, but we already did combat, so there's no more combat this turn either. At least I hope that was the third phase. I hope that wasn't the second move phase. I might have skipped a movement phase. I got caught up in everything else. That should have been maybe the third move phase, not the fourth movement phase. Well, there's no more combat after here. Oh, man. I can't... Well, actually, I can believe I totally messed up. What I need to do is put down a little dice or something to help me remember what phase I'm on. There's actually on the board a phase tracker, but that's where I set some tables in my armrests, so I'm always bumping the counter there. So after this turn, I'm going to go grab a die 6. That way I have a little reminder on the board what phase you're in, because I think I skipped a phase. Alright, so that was the fourth movement phase. Then we do the fifth movement phase. Speed 4's move. Nobody's at speed 4 anymore. In fact, nobody moves again the rest of this turn, and there's no more chits. So that would be the end of all the movement. So we'll skip movement phase 5 and phase 6 because nobody has an action chit to pull either because we already did combat. Then we do the damage effects phase. So that's where I can remove those ships. They're now gone. They sunk. And we would apply like the speed reduction of this here Teruzuki. The Teruzuki is now speed 2. It wasn't before, but it is now because I think it took a hit there. And it was already speed 2 because the other ship, so this is at the correct speed it needs to be. The Americans took no extra damage, so they're still at speed 3. Then, because we're coming up, I think this will change on the next order. They could probably go back up to their speed that they were. The speed, I'm looking here. Oh, there's speed 6. 6, and that one is, yeah, they're both speed 6. But they took some damage. Let's see. We'll worry about that next turn. But I think they could put their speed back up. Probably when I did the second Japanese movement phase, I would recheck their speed. I probably could have increased their speed. And then when they had to do their about face, so they probably could have stayed at speed 4. I'll look and check on when they actually check and do their initial speed adjustment. Oh, that's probably during the preparation stage. It's not during the, well, maybe during the second Japanese movement phase. I'll check and see if during the second Japanese movement phase they reset their speed, and then when they do like an about face or something like that, if that would reduce their speed from the reset speed or from the kept speed if it didn't reset. I hope that made sense because it makes sense to me. Then we do counter adjustment phases. That's like part of applying the damage. Oh, and I also forgot to flip these to their fired side. I did forget that. This is where I'd flip all of these back from the fired side to the non-fired side. That just reminds me that they did combat. But since I only have a couple of ships left, I probably will forget to do that again. But I'm going to try to remember that because I'm trying to get these steps down well so when I play again, everything flows better. So this, I would flip them all back. Then it says end of turn phase, check for victory, stuff like that. That's the end of turn 4. We actually have one more turn coming up, and so we'll probably film that, and then we'll be done with the first basic game. All the mistakes that I tried to catch, hopefully I can get that hammered out for turn 5. And then we'll see if I come back and play it again. Maybe you'll let me know. Do you like it? Not like it? But we'll do one more turn and see how things work out. All right, thanks again.